Welcome to the New York Landmarks Conservancy's 2021 Chairman's Award. I'm Peg Breen, president of the Landmarks Conservancy. The Chairman's Award recognizes business and government leaders who make significant contributions to preserving New York's remarkable architectural heritage. We have terrific honorees today. They've preserved and adapted two of New York's most iconic landmarks, Eero Saarinen's former TWA flight terminal at Kennedy, and Philip Johnson and John Berge's 550 Madison Avenue. We're glad that you're here to help us honor Erik Horvat, Managing Director of Olean America, Tyler Morse, founder and head of MCR, and Rick Cotton, Executive Director of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Everyone is concerned about helping New York's economy recover from the pandemic. Here's a look at how the Landmarks Conservancy is doing our part. The Landmarks Conservancy has preserved and protected New York for almost 50 years. We've loaned and granted more than $54 million through the years, contributing to more than $1 billion in total restoration projects. We've invested more than $2 million just since the city shut down in March. Each project creates local jobs. Currently, we're helping pay for emergency repairs at several nonprofits. We're helping religious institutions in underserved communities with everything from conditions assessments to roof repairs. Our loans are helping homeowners throughout the boroughs repair their buildings' exteriors. Landmarks of all kinds offer hope. Historic districts are drawing cards for tech companies, women and minority-owned businesses, residents and tourists alike. As New York recovers, these historic areas will be economic drivers again. During these stressful times, the city's landmark buildings and neighborhoods have anchored us, reminding us that New York has come through difficult periods before. We're proud to be the New York Landmarks Conservancy, and will continue to preserve the city we love. This is the Chairman's Award, so the Conservancy's chairman, Michael Brainer, is also here to welcome you.
Hello and welcome to the New York Landmarks Conservancy's celebration of our prestigious Chairman's Award. The Chairman's Award was inaugurated in 1988 to recognize exceptional dedication to protecting New York's historical legacy. Over the years, Chairman's honorees have proven the link between preservation and the city's economic health. That is true again this year. Our honorees preserved unique buildings that speak to the city's history without sacrificing any modern needs. They have shown once again that we don't have to choose between preservation and economic growth. We can have both. The Conservancy has sponsored two groundbreaking economic studies in recent years. They disproved the false claims that protecting historic districts limits affordable housing or otherwise suppresses growth. Preservation is not a trade-off versus other goals. It expands the economy and supports those other goals. In short, good preservation is good for those of us who live and work here, good for our visitors, and good for our businesses. Despite the personal and professional challenges of working in the midst of a pandemic, the Conservancy has never been busier. Like our honorees today, we too are proud to contribute to the city's economic recovery. Since last March, we have loaned and granted more than $2.3 million to preservation projects. This contributed to a total of $32 million in reinvestment into the city's economy during these trying times. We are proud to be the New York Landmarks Conservancy. We are humbled by your continued support and honored to be working with you to bring back the city we all adore. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael. And now on to our first honoree, Erik Horvat, Managing Director of Olean America. He's in charge of restoring and adapting 550 Madison Avenue. We're honoring him for that, but also because Olayan revised its initial plans for the building and supported designating it as a city landmark. Erik's skill and outreach drew plaudits from the community as well as from preservation and architectural groups. Leading architectural critic Paul Goldberger is here with a toast.
I'm very happy to say a word to celebrate Erik Horvat and Olayan, who've taken the lead in the team that has given one of the most remarkable preservation challenges in the recent history of New York a happy ending. What people of a certain age know as the AT&T building, and others think of as the Sony building, and everyone will soon call 550 Madison Avenue, is an iconic tower in architectural history, the work of Philip Johnson and John Berge that was the first major piece of postmodernism at skyscraper scale. Early plans announced a few years ago proposed a radical and architecturally inappropriate recladding of the building's base in glass. Erik, representing Olayan, the building's owner, worked conscientiously with Snøhetta, the architects, Chelsfield and RXR, their development partners, and the preservation and architecture community to figure out a better way to do it. It's not easy to admit that your first plan was a mistake, and it's even harder to create a revised plan that keeps the strengths of the original and tosses aside the weaknesses. Erik managed to do exactly that, overseeing this delicate process with skill, with commitment, with love for the building, and with a consistent joy in what he was doing. He understood that this building was anything but ordinary. Thanks to him and his colleagues, 550 Madison Avenue has become a model for saving, protecting, and updating a difficult building, and helping it to become not just meaningful to the past, but even more meaningful to the future. Congratulations, Erik.
Erik Horvat of Olean does love 550 Madison Avenue for its heritage and its design.
Because it has that rich history. And it was just done in a manner where they said, look, let's make this a special building and be bold.
Bold is putting it mildly. Philip Johnson and John Berge's design changed the course of architecture. While recognizing that pedigree, Olean initially proposed changes to the front facade.
We really respected the heritage of the building and we wanted to honor it with the updates we were making. 550 had been sitting vacant for years and really needed to evolve from a single tenant building to a multi-tenant building with modern amenities in order to remain best-in-class commercial destination.
As Paul Goldberger noted, the initial plan drew criticism and calls to landmark the building. To its credit, Olean changed course and agreed to designation.
So when we heard the feedback, we stopped the process. We met with the community, architects, the government stakeholders, really understanding them. And we learned that even the people that were pushing to protect the building, they really still recognized we had a need to sensitively adapt it so we could be successful in the future. So with that, we modified our thinking. We created a new preservation-focused approach. We doubled down on that actually by engaging proactively with LPC, the Landmarks Commission, to protect the building for future generations.
Olean came to the project with a preservation history. The company owns and cares for 3 historic buildings in Europe. At 550, Olean has cleaned the facade and restored the original window configurations on Madison Avenue. The famous marble staircase is gleaming. Prominent murals by Dorothea Rockburn will remain in place.
They're bright and they're beautiful works that, connects to science and space. They also play on the circular theme of the building. We like that they were made by this really strong and talented female artist. And it's a nice contrast to the sort of masculine structure that's 550 that was designed by, very talented men.
Visitors will also experience the great volume of the entrance lobby.
I think that they will feel the same grandeur that they would have felt when it was originally built. You come through a 120-foot archway through this glass that pours light into the lobby. You are going to feel the sense of grandeur. It's an amazing, immense space.
Even though the building opened in 1984, Horvath says the design is perfect for modern office space.
There are no columns, there are high ceilings, there's tremendous light and air, and what that ultimately means is we bought a building that can compete against some of the newer products but has the benefit of a historic and loved facade.
Olean did get permission from the Landmarks Preservation Commission to enlarge the rear windows for better light and views of the public space they're creating at the rear. The commission also allowed the removal of a rear annex. That creates greater space for what will be a year-round amenity for the community. Horvat was satisfied with the landmark process.
The process works if you approach it right. So we're in a better place today with this beautiful landmark building people revere, And we have a new public garden for the community and the tenants to enjoy. So it all worked.
Although the pandemic has challenged the commercial market, Horvat isn't worried about bringing a new office building online, especially one that will be LEED Platinum and WELL Gold.
But I believe wholeheartedly that people are itching to socialize and re-engage again. Collaborating face-to-face matters, especially when you have a younger workforce, which needs guidance and you need to interact with them to grow. So I think, we're going to be back in a big way as the vaccines roll out.
Horvat also has no doubt the city will be back in a big way.
Many have in the past written New York City's obituary and they've been wrong, and the city fights back and it rises every time, better than it was before, and it's going to do it again.
As it prepares to open the building later this year, Olean is proudly celebrating the building's landmark status in its materials.
I think it's a huge testament to Philip Johnson and John Berge to create something that basically right as soon as it's possible, people wanted to protect. And I think it is helpful to the building, especially when you combine that with having state-of-the-art new technology inside. It's a great combo.
Olean has been fortunate to be able to consult with John Berge throughout the process. The architect is pleased to see the building honored and revived.
I propose a toast to them for their consciousness of the historic nature of the city and of the different buildings that make up the city. It was been a great endeavor, and I have seen pictures of the project as underway, and it looks great, I think. And the original design intent has been kept, and in some cases even improved. So my best to them, and I wish them well and great success.
Berge is rightly proud of his world-famous design, so it's special that he's complimenting Olean on adapting his most famous building. If architect Eero Saarinen were alive today, he would probably be just as complimentary about our next honoree, Tyler Morse of MCR. He revitalized Eero Saarinen's former TWA Terminal at Kennedy Airport as the centerpiece of a new hotel. Tyler's colleagues say his vision and enthusiasm carried a vast team through a very complicated project.
Congratulations, Tyler, on your well-deserved Chairman's Award, a recognition I know means the world to you because it celebrates your deep passion for the TWA Flight Center and its architect, as well as your commitment to restoring the magic of an astounding landmark. It's been an honor for me to help bring your vision to life. Every day you inspired all 7,000 of us who worked with you on the project, regaling us with tales that you learned about Eero Saarinen's life from reading every single article ever written about him, curating museum exhibits from the 3,000 artifacts that we collected, and personally overseeing a TWA font drawn exactly to Mr. Saarinen's specifications. Your restoration of a 1958 Lockheed Constellation airplane was nothing short of amazing. While it once was stripped of its wings and its nose, it now has the emergency exit rope that people used to escape danger back in the day. I could go on because your vision started at the beak of the swooping bird structure and ended with the custom manhole covers on the hotel's tarmac. You didn't miss a detail. I know that Mr. Saarinen would be incredibly proud and flattered that a kindred spirit came along to help breathe new life into the building he dreamed up one day while eating his grapefruit. Together, you two built something magical. Congratulations.
Hi, Tyler. Congratulations on the TWA Hotel. This was a bananas project. 22 government agencies, 175 firms, 4,000 workers daily, bringing together a 6.5 acre development in a public-private partnership. Thank you for your leadership and your passion. It takes crazy to do crazy sometimes, and we're thankful to have you at the helm of this. Eero Saarinen and Howard Hughes would be proud, and we're thrilled to welcome the TWA Hotel and have it open for the world to see again. Cheers.
I think this is one of the most important buildings in America, and it deserved to be brought back to its original state for New York, for America, for the world.
Tyler Morse has enthusiasm to spare about Eero Saarinen's landmark former TWA terminal at Kennedy Airport. It's now the centerpiece of his TWA hotel. His admiration for the building started as a young child.
I used to fly with my dad, and he would take business trips on the old TWA 747s, and we would go upstairs to the upper deck lounge and have Shirley Temples, and I was a kid, but it was magical.
Morse sought to recreate that magic. He based his goal on Saarinen's goal for the building.
Right, he wanted you to experience the excitement of air travel when you flew, and that's what this building does. It evokes excitement everywhere around you, and that's the fun part, to give people the wow.
Morse succeeded. When the building opened, people marveled at the soaring, column-free space, the collection of designer TWA uniforms, the unique walk through flight tubes, the homage to Saarinen, and the replica of TWA owner Howard Hughes's office. All this and a restored Lockheed Constellation as a cocktail lounge.
I used to be a baggage handler for Delta Airlines at LAX, so I have aviation in my blood, and to be able to be a part of this project and bring this building back to life was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
That didn't mean it was easy. Morse can rattle off the 22 government agencies, community boards, and preservation groups he had to maneuver.
And being able to partner with all those people simultaneously to do something good for New York, it makes you feel good.
Morse focused on every detail. He brought in the Italian company that created the original flight boards. There are 6.5 million penny tiles throughout the terminal. Morse is cleaning the grout using a laser method used to clean the Parthenon.
People appreciate good architecture, and people are willing to pay a premium to have a great experience, to have an experience that is unique.
Beyond the landmark, Morse created underground event space for the hotel. That 9-month construction required building a bathtub and installing pumps because of the high water table.
It's a Rubik's Cube and a puzzle of how you get and mesh the economic interests with the preservationist interests, with the FAA's interest, with the City of New York's interest, with the Port Authority's interest, all at the same time on a very tight site where you need safe traffic patterns, safe pedestrian patterns, right? And doing all that in a condensed period of time that makes economic sense.
Heads in beds, as Morse says, took a relatively short 4.5 years. Morse also installed an infinity pool on one of the hotel wings that flanked the terminal.
So that's 4 left and 22 right in front of us. And the runway over there is called the Bay Runway. It's the second longest runway in America.
Plane spotters love the great view of the runways and the roof of the Saarinen building.
Right, whole different perspective on Saarinen's masterpiece.
The pandemic has drastically reduced air travel, but Morse remains optimistic.
You know, after the last pandemic came the Roaring 20s, and people were living it up. And I think once we get to take these masks off and we get out of our basement, we get off of Zoom, people are going to live it up like Prince said in 1999. And they're going to go for broke. And where are they going to go for broke? They're going to go for broke in New York City.
As complicated as the TWA project was, Morse was able to do it because the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey invested in preserving the exterior of the building. They maintained it for years through a federal review process and some failed bids until Morse came along. So we're also pleased to honor Rick Cotton, Executive Director of the Port Authority.
I would like to offer a toast to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and its partner, Tyler Morse and MCR Development, for the breathtaking preservation and adaptive reuse of the historic TWA Flight Center at JFK International Airport. The TWA Hotel is a hugely significant passenger amenity and it will be critical to operating a new, unified, world-class JFK. And the redevelopment of Kennedy is just one element of a broader 21st century infrastructure revitalization agenda that the Port Authority, led by Chairman Kevin O'Toole and Executive Director Rick Cotton, is advancing throughout the region. Today's recognition from the New York Landmarks Conservancy belongs to the dedicated employees of the Port Authority who worked on the TWA project and to our partners at MCR. Cheers.
As every architect in this room knows, it's much easier to build from scratch than to take an existing structure, an iconic structure, and make it better, to transform it. But that's exactly what the Port Authority has done under its wise leader, Rick Cotton, and through the creativity and the imagination of Tyler Morse. I flew out of the TWA Terminal in 1968. I was barely 16. I paid $238 for a round trip ticket to Paris. And I want to say something. The new TWA Terminal is a vast improvement for the 21st century flyer. And I want to congratulate what they've done there because it's going to set the model for the rest of John F. Kennedy Airport. Far more people use Kennedy Airport to come in and out of the city and this region than by car, by bus, or by train. And I think it's great that the Landmarks Conservancy has recognized how important aviation is to the life of our city and to the region. I want to congratulate Tyler, the Port Authority, Rick Cotton, and everyone who recognized that it was important to keep this building. I hope that every part of the new infrastructure the Port Authority is building at Kennedy is as good as what they've done at TWA. Thank you very much.
If you look at the history of the Port Authority, when there are historic structures, the organization has actually gone out of its way to preserve them and then to put them to an adaptive reuse.
A prime example of that is the former TWA Terminal. The Port Authority was a vital partner in saving the terminal until the right plan and right developer came along.
The basic decision by the organization was to invest money to preserve what was obviously an iconic building and a very important piece of the history of aviation in the region.
Cotton supports the port's investment and personally supports the adaptive reuse of historic buildings.
The combination of up-to-date modern facilities that achieve the 21st century technology and standards, to marry that with a historic sensibility, for me, is enormously exciting.
The Port Authority was so pleased with the outcome at TWA, it's continuing to work with Tyler Morse as it transforms LaGuardia Airport under a master plan commissioned by Governor Cuomo. Morse is developing a soaring, art-filled central hall that will connect the entire terminal.
These are wonderfully functional, airy, top-of-the-class architectural buildings, but they also have art installations, and they are intended to be not only 21st century facilities as a matter of travel and function, but to be inspiring and appealing.
Cotton sees upgrading our airports as key to the region's economic recovery.
If we don't have the facilities to attract travelers, if we don't have the ability to serve and be competitive in terms of other potential destinations, on a competitive basis, the region is going to be at a terrible disadvantage.
Projects at Kennedy have been on hold during the pandemic, but work at LaGuardia has continued full steam. The result will be the first new airport in the country in 25 years. Cotton says the work is already paying off.
I've been in the new facilities when an arriving passenger looks around and says, did I get on the wrong plane? Because this isn't LaGuardia.
Cotton points to Moynihan Train Hall as another example of an exciting public-private partnership. He was Governor Cuomo's point person on Moynihan before joining the Port Authority. The PA also helped provide funding for the project.
And it is a wonderful example of adaptive reuse. It has replaced the old skylights, but it's kept the concept of skylines. It has kept the wonderful all old supportive trusses which echo old Pennsylvania Station, and yet it is brand new, bigger and more airy than Grand Central Terminal's Great Hall. Compared to the old Penn Station, I mean, this really is a train hall, a train station that the region can be proud of.
Just as Moynihan upgraded train travel, the Port Authority recently announced plans to replace the outdated bus terminal. Cotton hopes the public will see it as another sign of recovery.
So as people see a brand new LaGuardia 21st century global standard, a brand new Moynihan train hall 21st century standard, that suddenly makes everyone sit up, take notice, and say, this is what the region deserves, this is what the state deserves, this is what the city deserves, and it actually creates both hope and a recognition that big things are possible.
Cotton is at the helm at a very challenging time for the Port Authority. The precipitous drop in travel is costing them billions in revenue. Despite this, Cotton is sure New York will recover, and his dedication to resolving urban problems is holding strong.
What's exciting about the position, it is a huge challenge. There's a lot more bad news around than good news, but it is the challenge. The opportunity to work in government at a time when government can actually deliver and be part of taking a difficult situation and trying to make it better. I think that is the challenge, and it's enormously energizing.
It's safe to say all our honorees are exhilarated by their work, and we're lucky they are, because New York is better for it. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your support. It helps the Landmarks Conservancy continue to preserve the city we all love.